I say all the time, how can you, as a coach or somebody that is directly involved into the development of a player, look them in the eye and say, throwing hard does not matter? You are lying through your teeth.
Arteaga drives one to center. Miller hustling over. Diving catch by Ian Miller. A great catch.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Nine Hole Podcast. This is your host, just with a little different setup, Ian Miller. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. Hope everybody enjoys the background that I'm trying to set up here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm going to try around something new. I got Nick Dini back on with me, ex-Major League catcher for the Kansas City Royals. Nick, how you doing, brother? What's going on with you?
What's up, Mil? Everything's good over here, bro. I know we stirred the pot a little bit with our last podcast, so I'm back for some more.
100%, dude. So what we are talking about, what you're alluding to, is we put out some clips on the Nine Hole Podcast on the catching guy. Man, it seems to be catching heat. Like it's kind of, I guess you could say it's going viral. Some people are talking about it, and there are a lot of differing opinions on there, man. So what we are talking about is, you had said something on our last get together about, man, the travel ball, high school ball, like when you're at the high school level, man, if you are just the only work that you're getting in is your high school practice, right? You're not doing stuff behind the scenes, the stuff on the side. Like if you're not refining your skill outside of your high school practice, you are going to be behind. It's not enough, man. And some people, that struck a chord with some people, man. What do you what can you hit on about that, man, that you think, man, their side of their viewpoint, their side of things is valid or not valid?
The first thing I would say, listen, if you are one of those coaches that do implement those strategies in your practices, then I've said it. Hats off to you. It was not meant to be a general statement. It's something that I observe, and what I've noticed, it's like, I'm a Northeast guy. I grew up in the Northeast. You're a Northeast guy. You grew up in the Northeast. You know how it was as a Northeast baseball player, where for, your high school season starts in March, and most of the time you're in a gym trying to get swings in a singular cage, or nets are set up and you're trying to swing into a net. So basically the point I was making, where first thing I would tell everyone that did have comments about it, and I appreciate all the comments, dude, and I genuinely mean that, because I love conversation. I really do. I could talk baseball, I could talk development, I could talk all parts of it, and I invite that, you know what I mean? And it's good to see the engagement that it's got. And the only thing I would say to those people is listen to the conversation in its totality, right? You got me on talking about a 14th round draft pick from a small Division I school that signed for $1,000 that made his way to the big leagues. And the premise of what I was saying, and something like a common response that I gave most of the coaches, was, is the best player on your team solely relying on your practices to get themselves better? And that is really what it was about, is that there's just not enough volume at those practices individually to continue to grow. So that was the premise of what I was saying. And it caught a lot of heat because, and I get it. If you are a high school coach and that's not how it's run, it's like, you feel victimized that I took a dig at you, then, you know what I mean? I guess apologies, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'm talking about what I see here, what I've seen growing up, and what I know the best players who have played the game at a high level and continue to play the game at a high level late into their late 20s, early 30s, there was a different approach to their development. And that's all we were trying to highlight, was that it takes a little bit more than your standard, your slotted 2-hour time frame that you get at a high school practice to continue to get yourself better. And another really sticking point that I want to point out is, practice is a prerequisite. Okay. It's not a separator. You have to show up to practice, right? It's a team it's an individual game within a team setting. So there is a lot of value that you get at a team practice, like being a great teammate is a huge component to it, and something that college coaches and professional evaluators ask those high school coaches. What kind of teammate is he? What kind of guy is he? What kind of worker is he? Do his teammates enjoy being around him? Does he take energy or does he give energy? What's he like when he's 0 for 4? All those things matter, right? So I'm not taking a dig at those things that actually do matter. We were talking about one specific point of you continuing to develop as an individual and taking your game to another level. And I'll fight tooth and nail. And like I said, I'll invite anybody on to have the conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I would bet my last dollar that their best player is not relying on just team practice to continue to get better.
I love that.
And that's the premise of it.
Bro, maybe sometime in the future we have one of the coaches on and we talk about it, bro. I'd love to talk about it because dude, we're sharing our experiences. Like,
yes,
that's the shit we've experienced. So in my experience, in my high school experience, the grindy Northeast high school experience, like, you don't get enough work in at your high school practice. There isn't, dude, I'm not working on individual outfield drills enough. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I get to shag and BP. I get 15 swings in 3 or 4 rounds of BP. Like, it's not enough, dude. I get it. Like, you practice the fundamentals and the basics and stuff. And like, I feel that's like our experience. You know what I mean? And to
100%
say that's, crazy or wrong. It's like, dude, I mean, you and we both looked at the guys that were, kind of giving backlash, and we're like, okay, well, you guys are sponsored by Under Armour. You have a sick ass facility. You have an all turf field, everything. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're charging tickets, like a $5-10 fee to get into high school. Okay,
exactly.
Your experience is probably a little different down south. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I would challenge that experience at your high school down south is probably greater than the experience that we had at a Division I collegiate level.
Damn straight.
You know what I mean? And that's not a dig on our head coach. Our head coach at college, I love him. I text him to this day. I thank him every time I see him for sticking with me through the hard times and the times when I was shit. And I have genuine love for that man. JC. But I would tell him straight up, I had to go seek other opportunities to get myself better outside of your allotted practices, and he would applaud me for it.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would take that as a dig. I think he would look to me as somebody who cared about what they were doing and wanted to be the best player that he could be for my school. I felt an obligation to that school. You gave me money to go to that school. I felt like I had a standard to uphold, and I approached every day to meet that standard.
Yeah.
So like I said, I mean, and that's just to touch on it, but I don't take back anything I said.
No, no, brother.
Listen, we're trying to get better.
Dude.
And that's what it's about.
And you talked about it a little bit, like, hey, the allotted volume that you have at the high school level is not enough, dude. So I can't take credit for this equation, dude. It's something that I saw online, I learned online, but like, in order to develop a skill, like, think about how you develop a skill. It's volume times time equals skill. So it's like the amount of volume I put in times the amount of times that I do reps or like put in outside work. Like, if I put in more work, more times than more people, then like I should develop a better skill than more people. And like, well, we made it to the big leagues. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happened for us when we did that. Right.
There was an old saying, it's like 10,000 hours until you can consider yourself really skilled at something. I mean, that's and what is 10,000 hours over? If you 3 hours a day, 365, it's 900 hours, maybe 1,000 hours. You did over 10 years. Like, that's what you talk, like, that's the kind of commitment you have to something if you really want to achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. It doesn't happen on accident. I always say too, bro, you will get a lot worse before you get a little bit better. And the moment you step off the gas, that's when it goes downhill. So it was just a point to make that, and I applaud high school coaches, right? Because a lot of times they're underpaid. They have to give away their time away from their families, and they are giving their time to the next generation of ball players. So hats off to you.
For sure.
And it's not meant to be a dig, but if you're a serious ball player, you're going to find time outside of practice. So
damn straight.
Let's move on.
Damn straight. 100%, dude. So let's talk about we see it at the big league level. Now it's starting to, I guess, have a trickle down effect. I'm not sure if, maybe which one came first, you know what I mean? But like the arm injuries in baseball up top, we see it left and right. These guys are throwing gas. These guys are throwing a lot. These guys are blowing out. Well, now it's kind of translating and trickling down, man. So like arm injuries in, travel ball, high school, middle school, like, dude, that stuff is kind of skyrocketing a little bit. And these pitchers are throwing 100+ pitches in games, and then they're trying to like run it back for travel ball, right? They're trying to just do too much. Like, what do you got on that, man? Like, I am the dude that's soaking up the knowledge from you here. So I haven't had, eyes and hands on the high school level, on the travel ball level, pretty much, right? I'm not like a coach there. You are working with these guys already, dude. What are you seeing, man, when it comes to these like elbow injuries, even so young?
It's a really sticky subject, right? And because you could look at it from both ways. Like you said, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Like, is it the damage being done to these kids at 12 years old and younger and on their way up into collegiate and professional baseball that is causing these arm injuries? Or is it an isolated, hey, once you get to this like a collegiate or professional level where the training starts to, really ramp up, and the bottom line of it, dude, is like they're chasing velocity. And in my opinion, there's no going back, right? I say all the time, how can you, as a coach or somebody that is directly involved into the development of a player, look them in the eye and say, throwing hard does not matter? You are lying through your teeth, because every single major Division I program, every professional organization, they seek velocity. They seek stuff, right? It's about strikeouts. It's about swing and miss stuff. So how can you tell a kid, don't try to throw hard, try to throw strikes? How many times have you seen, Mills? Dude throws 100, he walks 5 per 9, but he punches out 12 per 9. And it's like, you're going to continue to go up, and we're going to continue to try to figure out how we can get you into the zone. Right? So that's the first part of it, is like, that's what people are being rewarded to do. So how can you not have somebody trying to chase that if their dream is to go do that? Right? Now, I do think that we as coaches and people that are involved in the youth space into the high school level, we can be better at it. And there was something like, dude, this honestly started because it was brought to me that like a kid that I train is telling me about a 12-year-old that just threw 106 pitches in a tournament game this weekend. And then I just heard yesterday from another guy who, this kid plays on multiple teams, and he went and threw 70 pitches on Saturday and then came back and threw another 62 on Sunday. So I think the problem, exactly. It's negligence at the highest level. So I think it really is starting at a younger level right now, and it's just carrying into the high school and college level. And it's inevitable that guys are going to blow out because the volume is too great. The body cannot withstand that. So, dude, as I started digging into this, right, because they told me this, and I'm just alarmed by the thought. And that's only because playing for 10 years, I watched assets that are drafted by organizations, because that's what every player that's drafted is, an asset to that organization. They handled those assets in a certain way. In the minor leagues, you didn't see pitchers go over 90 pitches. Very, very rarely did dudes touch 100 pitches in a minor league start. And you can attest to that, right? And then the younger guys, even, they went 5 innings. Didn't really matter how many pitches they threw. They were only going to go 5 innings, right? So when you have a major league organization treating an asset like this, why are we as coaches, and I don't even know if it's the coaches, I'm bouncing all over the place a little bit, but I think the parents need to be educated on this, right? Because organizations look at, it used to be 50, then it was 40, and then now 20 plus undrafted free agent signings. So let's call it at the time of today, 15 to 20 pitching assets a year, okay, that you bring into an organization. The organization, whether they gave you $1 million, whether they gave you $5 million, or whether they gave you $1,000, they treat you the same in terms of how they control the volume of your pitches, of you pitching, I should say, right? You're throwing 90 pitches, you're capped at 5 innings, and then we'll build up, right? So where the parents come in is not, I think it's a parent's job, because coaches obviously are not putting the emphasis on player health at a young level. They're not. And it's also not their faults, right? Because a lot of kids are playing for multiple teams.
Yeah.
So you can't expect that coach on team A to be in communication with coach on team B to say, hey, how many pitches did player A throw in today's game? Okay, now I know I'm only going to throw him this many pitches. They don't give a shit, right? What do they care about? Tournament wins at a 12-year-old level. How many tournaments can my team win? And if that has to come at the expense of throwing a 12-year-old kid for 100 pitches, 100-plus pitches, so be it, which is negligent,
wild,
dude.
Bro. That's wild, bro.
It's wild. It is wild. So I started doing some digging on that once these parents told me this. And what I've come up with is that there is a pitch smart guideline that has been put in place by Major League Baseball, that it is in place to help govern youth pitch counts. However, here's the kicker. It only applies to little league and pony leagues and like your town teams. It does not apply to tournament teams.
No way.
Yep. Check this. Hold on. This is fantastic, dude. I was blown away by it, and it makes total friggin' sense, man. Where are these guidelines?
It leaves out tournaments. It leaves out.
No, it gets better. Just give me 1 second. Okay, ready? I'm just gonna go through this really, really, really quickly. Yeah. Age 7 to 8 daily. I'm gonna give the age and then the daily max pitches in a game. 7 to 8, 50 pitches. 9 to 10, 75 pitches. 11 to 12, 85. 13 to 14, 95. Now at 13 and 14 years old, you're already letting those kids throw more pitches than what major league organizations are willing to let their assets throw. So let me just put that little caveat in there.
Wild.
15 to 16, you could throw 95, 17 to 18, 105, and 19 to 22, 120 pitches.
Dang, dude.
Okay?
Dang.
Those are the pitch smart guidelines put in place by Major League Baseball. And yet, you don't see major league pitchers going that far over 100 pitches.
No chance.
Why? Because science says people way smarter than me, and research done shows that over 100 pitches, that's kind of the plateau, right? That's where guys start to fatigue. Once you fatigue, you don't control your body and how you're moving. So you open yourself up to more injury past 100 pitches. So you're letting that 15 and 16-year-old do that, but major league pitchers aren't really doing it.
Dude.
So essentially, these tournament games are not governed by the pitch smart. Now, what they do, however, is they are required to let the coaches know what those guidelines are, but those coaches are not mandated to enforce them. So essentially, it's a speed limit that's posted on the road and then saying, fuck it, it doesn't matter. I know what the speed limit is, but I don't have to abide by that. I could just do whatever. I could go as far as and fast as I want. There'd be a lot more car crashes, don't you think?
Yeah, dude. Yes, dude. Say it like that, brother. It makes a ton of sense. It makes a ton of sense.
Car crashes are elbow injuries.
Dude, okay, so I did not know it was like that at all. So I had dude, okay, so first of all, we got a comment in the chat. Brick Wall Baseball. Appreciate you tuning in. You were here last time. We had Mr. Dini on. Coaches in youth baseball need to stop worrying about wins and trophies. Dude, I get it. 100%.
Our next segment.
100%, brother. Looks like we'll be touching on that next week, dude. Like, we'll probably just do a segment on some shit like that. How about that? We'll run it back. Brick Wall, hopefully you're here for that. But, dude, I had the Wake Forest pitching coach on, Corey Muscara, who at the time they were number one, like preseason rankings, all that shit. He was on in the offseason, bro. And so I went to the ABCA and I heard him talk. Deans, dude, you got to go to that this upcoming year. The ABCA.
I heard.
You got to be there. Bro, so I heard him talk. It was kind of like a private ordeal. I was lucky enough to get in there. I was fortunate. And he was talking about, fastball velocity increasing, and the average SEC fastball velo is 93.7 for 2023. So that's fucking buzz, right? Right off the bat, you know, dudes, average, bro, average. And you got your outliers like Paul Skeens throwing 102. You know what I mean? Dude, it's crazy. But he was talking about that is like the status quo. Those are the dudes that get rewarded and come into SEC schools and get the opportunities. The guys that are throwing fuzz and the spin, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to hump up, and that's how they get rewarded. That he like tries to go out and get at least somebody that's a little like out of the status quo, because the status quo is now throwing fuzz. So like a sidewinder or a dude that like has a nasty like I'm thinking of Ryan Casey, when we played with him, like just, he would move it. He could throw it where you want it. He would mess with delivery. You know what I mean? Like a dude that like that, because the status quo is now fuzz. And those are the dudes that get like rewarded. So of course the younger dudes are going to try to bump up and like, they're going to focus on that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's wild.
100%, dude. And to go even further than that, Mill, it's like I don't know if you heard the interview with Tyler Glass now. I think it might have been with Baseball Network. It was with I forget who it was with, but he did an interview the other day. And he essentially said, like, I'm willing to throw hard and risk injury because that is what gets rewarded. And it's like, you're talking about a guy that just signed $150 million contract, where it's like, yeah, you know what? I'll sit on the shelf for a year and a half.
Brother.
I'll collect that contract. I will continue to try to get healthy. I'll come back and I'll go and do the same thing, because that is what, like, that's the reward for me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's worth it. Like, so it's hard to really go backwards. I don't know how you go. We go the other way from there. So like at the major league level, that's one thing. But what I am saying is, there can be governors put on 12-year-old kids now that will prevent injuries later on in their playing career, and injuries that matter. And you know what? I feel like I'm very qualified to talk about it, because you're talking to somebody that had Tommy John at 15 years old, because nobody put a governor on me. My dad didn't know any better. You're being asked to pitch, go pitch. You're asked to go play shortstop the next day, go play shortstop. You're asked to go do this, go do this. You listen to your coaches. That's the kind of the message that I got from my father.
100%,
right?
bro.
So
100%.
It's done at the youth level, and we're just not seeing that, because, as Brick Wall, as my man Joey Williams just said, it's about the wrong thing. It's about winning games at 12 years old. Where, dude, I won a lot of tournaments at 12 years old. I don't really remember. I don't remember much about them. You know what I mean?
Brother.
Because it doesn't matter at this point in my life.
For sure.
And dude, kids won't remember it either.
And we're talking, the dude, Tyler Glass now that said that. I was just looking up his stats. The guy that's willing to blow out to pump buzz to get paid, like, dating back to like 2018, what is that, 5-6 years? Dude's pitched over 100 innings one time. You know what I mean? Like he's battling, you know what I mean? He's battling injuries. So it's like, that's what the younger generation is seeing. Like, that's what fucking gets you paid. That's how you live the life, dude. So like, we might not know the ways around that, but it's the trickle down effect. Like, we're seeing it from top to bottom, bro. We understand why that's happening. Like, we touched on that. You educated our audience for that. I mean, you're educating me on it, dude. Travel organizations. So like these travel orgs, these tournaments, they might be abusing the pitchers a little bit, right? They might be, that's how you overwork them a little bit. But we also talked about how do you build on skill, right? It's volume times time equals skill. So like, there's this weird double-edged sword where it's like, okay, in order for me to perfect my craft as a pitcher, especially if I want to maximize my ability and get to the top of where I can take this thing, like, I got to make sure I'm getting my reps in and getting my time in. It's like that perfect balance, dude. How do you
so I'm not really, so I'm not a pitching guy. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a pitching guy and give you an off-season pitching program. If you are interested in that, go to our boy Mikey Adams at BPC. They're doing a great job down there. They have a in-house physical therapist that works, Book, that works right in line with him. So like, they're doing this stuff. They're building velocity. They are developing stuff, but he is also working directly with a PT guy that is making sure that guys are recovering properly, that are doing proper warm-ups and all this other stuff to ensure that they stay healthy. Now, what I will say is maybe like a training session or a training like week for a younger pitcher looks something like getting on the mound 2 times a week at 25 pitches in an off season with no games being played, right? Maybe getting on the mound 2 times a week and actually throwing. Now, if you want to do more because you don't feel like that's enough, you can get on the mound. There are plenty of workouts that you can do with water bags and the water balls and just kind of create some stability and body awareness. Feel yourself on the mound. Get down the slope. Like I said, I'm not going to act like I'm a pitching guru because I'm not. But I got to imagine that those are some ways that guys can feel like I'm putting in work. I'm coordinating my body because that's an important piece in every part of the game, right? Is being able to get into and out of these positions that allow you to do certain things. So getting on the mound with some constraints and just feeling the mound and doing that, you know what I mean? It's essentially like if I'm hitting off a tee at a low intent, like there's not much, you know what I mean? I'm not putting too much stress. Hitting's a little differently. You can swing obviously more than you could throw in a week, but there's ways around that, and there's ways that you can get better. What about also like as pitching coaches, especially at a younger level, like working on the running game? Like there's none of that anymore. Like guys can just run rampant. What about fielding your position? I see a lot of guys that can't do that. Like there's a lot of other things that you could do to develop your game as a pitcher, right? Than just like throwing. And then, dude, and then you're in high school, right? Then you get to high school. Now it's like, okay, now I want to start specializing, and I see I potentially have a future in this game. So I want to put all my attention to developing as a pitcher. Now you go see those people that can make you throw harder and develop your stuff, give you a wipeout slider, help you get a little more, horizontal break on your sinker, whatever the hell that you want to do or whatever your pitch arsenal is, they can help you with that. But at a 12-year-old level, that's not what we should be doing. And dude, not even that. These guys are pitching in those games, and most times these 12-year-olds that are like dominant pitchers, they're just dominant athletes, right? So they're not only just pitching 106 pitches, they have a game an hour later because you play 3 games a day, and they're going and playing shortstop, and they're throwing more. So it's not like you're just sitting that guy down, right? Oh, dude, I want to tell this story real quick. Please. I am helping at a high school in Edison, St. Thomas Aquinas, and we have a stud freshman. I'm talking like this kid, if he continues on this path, he's gonna be a Division I player, and then who knows after that, right? Pitcher, shortstop, freak athlete, big time juice, throws the shit out of it. So we have a game early in the year in April, right? And we're in a 4-3 game. Like I said, he's a freshman. 4-3 game. Up until that point, he was at a 75 pitch limit. And I'll tell you how we got there as a coaching staff. 75 pitch limit. He gets through 5 innings, and he's at 72 pitches. We say, that's it. He's done. He's out. Okay, we have to go to maybe our 4th, 5th best pitcher. But we're willing to do that because you know what? In the grand scheme of things, who gives a shit if we win this game? It is like, as a coach, it's about being able to look that kid in the eye and tell him we are taking you out because we know that if we ask you, you are going to tell us, no, I'm good. Let me go. I'm not even giving you that option. Kids do not know better. Okay. You as a coach, as somebody that's done it and seen it and understands it, has to put the governor on it and say, nope, you are done. Thank you for your 5 innings. Get ready to hit when your time's up in the order. And not only that, he cannot play shortstop the day after he pitches. He DHs. So not only do we put a pitch count on him at a certain point in the year, we do not let him throw and go to shortstop the next day to play short. He has to DH if he's going to be the DH. Why? Because we care about you and your future in this game and taking it as far as you can go, because as a coach of a team, we as coaches need to find a way to win the game that doesn't come at the expense of your right arm.
I love that, bro. I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, yes. I love protecting the kids. Yeah, of course, man. Of course, like you want to teach everybody that it's, if you're going to compete, do your best. You want to win. And then there's the camp where it's like, not everybody should get a trophy. Dude, I get it. But like when we're talking
I'm not
about
in that camp
development,
either, by the way.
no, for sure. No,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Neither am I.
I'm not in that camp either.
Definitely. But we're
Everybody
talking about
deserves,
development and their health.
that's
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like it's,
Yes.
dude, I love
Yes.
that. I absolutely love
Yes.
that, bro. I
Yes.
wish, and I'm not saying like it wasn't, dude, I didn't even have dudes on my high school team. I think that could throw past 75 pitches. Like that's how dumpy my high school team was. But like, dude, man, it's, I love that. I wish like my coach, not that he had to do that, but I would love to play for a dude like that. That is like going to protect me and my development and not like run the risk of long-term fucking injuries at the expense of a high school dub. You know what I mean?
Exactly. In April 5th.
Yeah, nah, dude.
You know what I mean?
So hats off to you for that. I respect it, brother. I respect the shit out of it, dude. So we hit on what was going on a little bit with the elbow injuries. We're seeing the injuries from the top down, from the big leagues down to the little leagues. Man, elbow injuries are becoming a thing. It's absolutely crazy. So we hit on that a little bit, discussed maybe a little bit of a path forward, what we think the reasoning behind that is. I love the fact that you're like educating me on all this stuff, dude, because like I hear about it, being an outfielder and being consumed in the outfield and not paying attention to anything else. Like you being a catcher from, at all levels, right? You get to the big leagues as a catcher, you're surrounded in the pitching game, dude. You know that stuff, dude. And now that you're working with high school kids, like, dude, you see that stuff, man. So like, yeah, you are the expert on that. You are fucking like educating me on that. That's big time. Let's get into maybe like the strike zone a little bit, dude. So we see all this stuff with major league umpires in the strike zone. Angel Hernandez, CB Buckner. I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but it is what it is. So like we see some players being outraged on it. I see a game just the other day where Joe Adell gets thrown out at second base, stealing with the Angels to end the game. And he's called out on the field. They take it to replay and he's clearly safe. And dude, they like call him out. So it's like officiating overall is starting to be questioned, but more so, the balls and strikes and things, dude. So Max Scherzer had come out and said, dude, like, in arbitration, as Tyler Glasnow was saying, we were alluding to it earlier, like the numbers matter. And so when Major League Baseball players go to arbitration and they get valued for what they should make, shouldn't make, right? All that stuff goes into it. Well, if they're getting judged for that stuff, we should hold umpires accountable, right? We should rank the umpires based off of good calls and bad calls, and then we should delegate or relegate, I don't know what that word is, the bottom 10%, right? Just send them to the minor leagues. Like that's a crazy idea. Is it because the umpires are potentially like getting downgraded a little bit? They're kind of slacking, or are catchers becoming more advanced, bro? I see what you're posting. Some of the stuff that you're talking about on your catching page, dude, is talking about like stealing strikes, like making shit look good, right? Not like if there's a science behind it. Is that playing a factor into it, dude, or just 100%. The umpires lacking? Yeah,
100%. I think it's all of those, right? Because like you said, like it's essentially like a teacher getting like their 3 years. What do you call that?
Teachers getting their 3 years, so like a master's?
No, like they teach for 3 years, so they're like they're good. They don't have to worry about it. Like they're gonna be there.
Tenure?
I forget what tenure.
Dude, Brick Wall hit us in the chat with tenure. Love that, dude. Tenure. We just got bailed out. Beauty. That's fire, bro. Thank you, dude. Thank you for showing up today.
I'm not an English guy, bro. I'm not an English guy. But what I'll tell you, so teachers get tenured, right? These umpires get tenured. Once they're in the big leagues, like there's no up and down, right? So they get a certain amount of time in the big leagues. They're good. There's no penalty for sucking. Like I think, like to go to your point about the umpires, Scherzer hit it on the head. Like, and dude, I don't know Max personally. Like, I mean, I've sat there, I've listened to him, I've been in a clubhouse with him, I've talked to him. You know what I mean? And the dude is really, really smart and really like puts a lot of thought into how the game could be better. So like anything he says most of the time, it holds a lot of weight. So I don't know. There's no other explanation, in my opinion, other than going to a robot umpire, which I don't think would be the best thing for it. I played with it last year. there's a lot of holes in that system as well. And I do think human error is a part of the game. Now you'll have the new school people that are saying, well, why is it a part of the game? We have the technology. Yeah. At the end of the day, umpires are going to protect themselves and protect each other as umpires. So when they make these calls that are bang, bang that we see on TV, like, oh, they're safe. Nope, they're out. Okay, well, what the hell are you watching? I can't really speak to that. But as far as behind the plate, like balls and strikes, there has to be a certain percentage that you have to get right or wrong to continue to be able to work the plate or to go down and give other guys a chance. A lot of times the guys get old. Who knows how good their eyes get, like as they get older and they've umpired for 30 years in baseball. Like, who knows what happens to their eyesight? Like, also catchers now, dude, like the emphasis, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about, velocity. Now, from the catching side of things, the value is all on receiving. So, like, when you look at my catching page, and a lot of it is on the receiving part of it, because that's the part of it that matters right now. Like, they don't really give a shit about how well you throw. They're putting rules in the game in place to enhance base stealing. So now it's like you take a catcher who throws out 30% of runners really, really, really good. It's getting increasingly harder to meet that percentage because pitchers can only pick over twice. They must get them out on the third one. They're up against the pitch clock, right? So there's not as much holds and nuance to controlling the running game. It's like, I got 2 bullets to get him out, and then he knows he can go on the third, where most of the time that you see, these pitchers pick over once, and then they want to hold on to that second lifeline. So as a base runner, you're going. Now the introduction to the vault lead, right? Because with the pitch clock, it's right there for everyone to see. So the pitcher sees it, the base runner sees it. All right, the pitch clock's getting down close to 0. Let me take a little vault step, and I'm going to get off. Now you have average base runners that are stealing bases at a clip that they never did because they can incorporate this vault lead into their game to take advantage of these rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, Miller, if you were in the big leagues right now with these base running rules and you were getting 500 at bats a year, you're stealing 60 bases a year, bro. Like, dude, no doubt about it, right? Because you were already a guy that was going to get thrown out maybe on a bad year 20% of the time. 8 out of 10 times you were going to be successful with no pitch clock and no pickoff rules. And adding that to your game, right? For somebody like you who like took that, like the art of base running and like really put time into developing as a base runner, not just relying on pure speed, right? Because as you got older, guys got better at holding.
100%.
Now it's like, okay, I take an elite runner and I put these rules in place, and now you find ways to like manipulate and buck that system, right? Yo, this guy picked over once. He's not going to pick over twice. Or say he does pick over twice. He cannot pick over a third time.
I know he's going. Yeah, I know he's going.
He cannot pick over a third time. My lead is going to get a little bit bigger, pick off. I'll step back. I'll get in there. And then you just gave me second base anyway.
Yes.
Or I'm going to get more. Probably play the high percentage that you're going to deliver a pitch home, and I'm going to take second base. So throwing as a catcher, that stat is skewed now. Like, guys aren't the game is not being like, the position is not being valued from a throwing perspective, because evaluators know elite base runners are going to get their bags, and middle of the road runners are now going to steal bases at a higher clip because of these rules. So
100%.
How can I affect the game? Well, that 1-1 pitch that was off the plate, I just made it 1-2 as opposed to 2-1. You know, as a hitter, what that does for you. You know what I mean? And the numbers are staggering, bro. I don't have them in front of me, but like, if you as a catcher, you're literally like, you go into your planning, like your game planning, and it's all to limit slug, right? We have to limit damage. Major league hitters, they're going to get their base hits. They're going to draw their walks. How do I limit doubles? How do I limit home runs and extra base hits? Okay, well, I look at their zones, and I'm just going to try to attack that. Now, as a catcher, when you look at the major league slug of hitters in certain counts, and those really swing counts, the 0-0 getting to 0-1, right? The 1-1 getting to 1-2 or 2-1. the 3-2 count, that's a walk or a strikeout. Those play a huge, huge part in the game. On the pitching side, leverage pitches, right? That goes into the pitch, that lends itself back into the pitching talk that we were having. Not all pitches are created equal. It's a lot easier when you have a 10-run lead and you can just go out there with no leverage and just, throw the ball. And it's a lot friggin' different when it's a one-run game and I got traffic in the 5th inning. Those pitches are a little more high intensity and they're a little more wear and tear because of the situation. Catchers are now more than ever working on the art of receiving because it is an art. And, I do a lot of studying on the best guys, and it's something that you see. Guys are having very long major league careers without really any offensive production, but you look at their framing numbers and it's like, holy shit, this guy is impacting the game at a level that, the average fan doesn't realize. They just look and this guy gets up to bat and he's hitting 190 and it's like, what the hell is he doing in the lineup? Well, he just saved 2 runs today by getting, 6 strikes that weren't strikes for his pitcher, because those play a huge difference.
Crazy,
so it's like,
dude.
And that's what you have to like. And right now, what the game's calling for as we speak today, it's all receiving. It's all receiving. Now, if they go to robot umpire, you're going to see the position change dramatically. You're going to get big hitters. You're going to take a guy that could really hit. Now it's like, you know what? Let me try to throw him behind the plate. I'm not worried about throwing strikes. Does he have a good enough arm, and could he learn to block the ball? So then blocking and throwing become a focus as a catcher. But right now, it is all receiving, and
100%.
that's a lot of the work that I do with the young catchers that I work with. It's putting yourselves in good positions to receive, understanding a pitcher's arsenal. If this guy's throwing a sinker that has this much a run, like how can I angle my body? Where can I position my glove to take a better angle back to the plate with good leverage? Now, what knee do I have to be on? Do I go on a knee at all? With this right-handed slider, I'm expecting action this way. So I want to get a little more angle. I'm going to get my glove out this way to work back to the zone. Like it's an art, dude. It is. And you watch the best catchers, a lot of what I notice is glove positioning is sick. They're holding the ground with their glove longer than the guys that don't receive so well. And they understand what their pitchers do. They understand their misses and where they're trying to go with the ball, so that they're creating leverage in that area to work the ball back to the plate. And that's how they're paying catchers right now, is to steal strikes and which in turn swings counts and in turn limits damage.
Yeah, bro. And dude, like we started with the base running thing. It's like all these rules that are being implemented or changed, right? Changes like the way that positions and the way that players play the game. And it puts emphasis on different tools, on like different facets of the game. Bro, It's wild. It's wild. The trickle down effect, like in the catching world, is crazy. Yeah. And I appreciate you touching on that. That's huge, man. Follow Nick Dini at @Dini or NJ Catching Guy. Please check him out, man. If you're a catcher, a high school player, man, that's going to be instrumental to your development, your success. To follow positive content, good content from people that have done it, like Nick Dini here, man. So I appreciate you, Deans, man, making time. We touched on everything that we kind of set out on touching on, dude. Bro, maybe we run it back next week, man. If you're around, if you're free, bro, let's jump on here again and maybe touch on what Brickwell was just talking about with the youth baseball coaches, the wins and the trophies, man. We'll keep it maybe around like the youth sports type stuff, right? Like just try to, I don't know, man, just give back, try to give them knowledge, shit that we wish we had, growing up. So
absolutely, bro. You let me know whenever, man. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about the game. I'm passionate about helping. And I think it's our duty as guys that, we're fortunate enough to play the game at a high level, be around really smart people. I think it's our duty to pass along that information to the next generation of players, the kids that were like me and you that didn't have this, these insights that we were able to, put in action where, now we're able to give that back and kind 100%. Of, if we can help 1, 2, 3 kids along the way, man, it's all worth it for me. So always a pleasure, Mill. And whenever you're ready, bro, I'm ready to talk youth baseball and tournaments and
Let's do it.
perfect game and USA BL and all that other
Hell yeah.
fun stuff.
We'll run it back next week. Everybody, I appreciate you for tuning in to this episode of the Nine Hope Podcast. Thank you if you are listening on Apple Podcasts. Appreciate you. Thank you for checking in on YouTube as well. Thank you, everybody. Deans, I appreciate you, brother. Take care. We'll catch you next week.
My pleasure, Mills. I'll talk to you, bro.
All right. See you, fellas.